In Ontario, the scandals seem to be piling up for the Liberal government. An allegation by the Ontario Provincial Police that possibly illegal activity took place inside the office of the Premier with the deletion of emails. Very quickly, the leader of the Progressive Conservatives, Tim Hudak, came out and alleged that it was not possible to consider that Kathleen Wynne, the Premier, didn't know what was going on, and he even used the phrase possibly under her direction. Now there's threatened legal action against the party and against Tim Hudak if he doesn't withdraw that statement. He seems disinclined to do so. Then this morning, the PCs came out with yet another allegation, and that is that the Ontario Liberals are planning a budget. They are going to leak 39 elements of that budget in order to try to build support for it, and that they are using civil servants and not political operatives to do so. One of the people out publicly making those accusations is Vic Fideli, who's the finance critic for the PCs and joins me from Queen's Park in Toronto. Vic Fideli, welcome.
Jerry, always a pleasure, sir.
Standing by your comments from this morning, you haven't received any more legal threats?
Not lately, but I can tell you what we did receive was confirmation, just like the budget leaking teams, the BLT as they call it, the budget leaking team's document said. Tomorrow, Minister Charles Sousa will be up on the long-range forecast, just like the document said he would be doing.
All right, and your allegation, I want to make sure that I understand this, is that they are improperly, is it even illegally, using civil servants to do some of their work for this?
Well, what I am saying is whistleblowers who are from the civil service crossed the street, came over, just out of disgust, they said. They couldn't stand doing the bidding of the Liberal Party any further. These are taxpayer-paid civil servants who are co-opted to be part of the budget leaking team of the Liberal Party. So they would. The plan was to use civil servants, taxpayer-paid civil servants, over the next month to do 39 announcements with the Premier and other ministers using these resources.
Whether or not it is a good idea to do 39 announcements on a budget that has yet to come out is a debatable thing, I guess. If it were done entirely by ministers, by political people, then it would be a different story, correct?
It would be a whole different argument. Still not a very good argument for the Liberal government to be making. Look, if they've got a budget that's ready, they owe it to the legislature, they owe it to the bond rating agencies, and quite frankly, they owe it to the public to present that budget. Instead, what they're doing, apparently it's ready, they're going to take 39 photo opportunities between now and May 1, the date that the budget leaking team leaked the budget date to us. They're going to be leaking that over that period of time. This is heinous to be doing such a thing, especially with civil servants.
And so have you had any response other than the sort of typically self-justified, angry response that Kathleen Wynne seems to give? Yes, we're putting a budget together, and yes, we would have people in the finance department doing it, and we're doing great things for Ontario. Have they addressed the civil servant aspect of this at all, do you think, in a meaningful way?
Our finance minister said he didn't know what we were talking about, which is very, very strange that the finance minister himself would not know about the budget leaking team. This is his budget. Well, maybe it isn't. That's part of the problem. And yet he's coming out tomorrow right on schedule. If you look at the document that they leaked to us in a brown envelope to our offices, you would see that tomorrow Charles Sousa, the finance minister, is coming out with the long-range forecast, right out of central casting. So this is obviously the document was accurate. These are really frustrated civil servants. Now, I can tell you one thing, Jerry. We are filing a Freedom of Information request today, two types. The first one is getting the government's BLT or budget leaking team documents. We want to know who's involved, who masterminded this, which staff have you co-opted into this. And the second one is FOI on these staffers to protect them as whistleblowers. We want them to be completely protected for bringing forward these brown envelopes to us.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought this to the fore. And before we finish here, Vic Fideli, I want to give you the opportunity to respond to some criticism that Sarah McIntyre and I made of your party. And while you were doing this, I felt like in question period today, and so did Sarah, you dropped the opportunity to continue to push Kathleen Wynne on whether or not her computer was one of the computers targeted when they wiped out information. It was like you forgot about that scandal that was happening.
Well, Jerry, the sad part is there's so many scandals and so little time to talk about them all. We did have Lisa MacLeod, John Yakubuski, Rob Leone go out on gas plant questions in the legislature today. I asked the 7th one, so we had 7 questions on gas plant today. Our leader, Tim Hudak, and I did come out on this document. We wanted to get out with it to the media and to the legislature as quickly as we possibly could after learning of this new heinous Liberal scandal.
Vic Fideli, thanks so much.
Always a pleasure.